Alright guys, so I think now that you know what functions are and you know what loops and if statements, I think that now it's time to talk about scope. Okay, I wanted to talk about scope because of let and const versus var earlier, but for those of you that didn't know what a function was or how it was set up or if statements, I didn't want to go over it yet. So now that we've already done that, let's talk about scope. So what I'm going to do is create a couple variables and just tell you that this is the global scope. Okay, we're not inside of anything, any functions or anything like that. This is the global scope. I'm going to set three variables using all three methods. So var a equals, and we'll just say, well, let's just do numbers. We'll just do 1. So var a equals 1, and then we'll do a let b equals 2, and then we'll do a const c equals 3. Okay, and then down here we'll console.log and we'll say global scope A, B, C and save, and you can see global scope 1, 2, 3. So this is var A, this is let B, this is const C. Okay, so everything's fine. That's what you would expect. Now let's do a function. So we'll say function test, and let's again define three variables, except I'm going to change the value to 5, not 5, let's do 4 there. So 4, 5, and 6, and then we're going to just console log in here, and this time let's say function scope, and let's see what we get. Oh, we got to run the function. Okay, so function scope, we get 4, 5, and 6. Global scope, we get 1, 2, and 3. So basically, these are separate variables than these are because they're in a different scope. Okay, see how that works? Var is a function scope declaration, meaning that you can have a different variable of the same name inside of a function than on the outside. So this isn't going to affect this A. Now, we also have something called block level scope, but what I mean by block is an if statement, a loop, anything that is wrapped in curly braces. So let's put an if statement here, and it doesn't matter what we put in here. Let's just say true, so it definitely runs. And then we're going to, let me put a comment here, and this is a block scope. Okay, and we'll take these variables and we're going to set them to 4, 5, and 6, and then let's do a console log within the if, and we'll say, or let's say if scope. It is a block scope, but we'll just say if, and save, and let's see what happens. So this is the if scope. We get 4, 5, and 6, which is fine. Now look at the global scope. Global scope, we have 4, 2, 3. So what's happened is we defined A in the global scope, and then within the if scope, or within the block scope of the if statement, that A variable was changed, because when we echo, or when we console log it out back in the global scope, it's changed to 4, where it was assigned inside of the if. Okay, notice let and const is still 2 and 3. Even though inside the block scope we set them to 5 and 6, there's still 2 and 3 in the global scope, because that's what we initially declared them as. So the way that let and const work is how most programming languages work. Var is kind of weird, and it's one of the things that a lot of people didn't like about JavaScript. It causes security it causes security risks. And it can just cause confusion if you have some variable in the global scope and then inside a block some program has the same variable name. Things can get messed up. So let's now try this with a loop. Okay, so I'm going to do a for loop. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to first use let. Okay, so I'm going to say let, let's do let A equals 0, and then we'll say as long as A is less than 10, and then we'll do a plus plus, and then console.log a. Actually, let's put a template string in here, and we'll say loop. We'll say loop a, and save. All right, so each value for a in the loop is going to be 0, 1, 2, all the way up to 9. But in the global scope, a, actually I should have did b, since I did let b here. Well, no, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we set a to 1 here, whether it's var or let. What matters is that we're using let here, so it stayed as 1. Okay, if I were to use var here, okay, remember the global scope, it's 1 with let. If I use var, look at that, it changes to 10. Okay, so the loop, the variable a in the loop, since we use var, actually changes the value of the global a, which is not good. Okay, so that's another reason that let and const were created. So hopefully that gives you an understanding of scope and how let and const are different than var. Let and const have a block level scope, and var has a function scope.